Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ma'am. Uh, I welcome you on the behalf of the Department of English and CLS for this session.
You, ma'am.
This is our 29th lecture on the NET and SLET series of mentoring. Uh, Today we having a Miss Jaina Gajjar. Earlier she has deal with the topic like Victorian novels and other novelists. She is going to deal with today's topic would be the second generations of the Romantics, and she was the past student of this same department. She is working at the University as an assistant professor. Without much a time, I over to you, ma'am. Ma'am, your session is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone here. So, today I'm going to deal with the second generation of romantics. So, just a quick overview of what we have for the first generation. So, after the experience of the first lecture that I took here, I have tried to make this a bit lively here and interactive. So, yeah, I've put some questions as well so that, we can discuss. Instead of a lecture, this should be a good interactive session, I believe. And therefore, yeah, I have a few questions there in the presentation as well. So can we just start with what do we have in the first generation of the romantics? Can anybody just put it there? So yeah, we have Coleridge, we have Wordsworth and Blake for as first generations of romantics. What else, like any characteristics or anything that you would like to add in here for the first generation, and then we'll move to the second generation of the romantics.
Yes, participants, you can drop your suggestions and the things at the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and you can say something regarding that things.
Suspension of disbelief. Okay. Personal. If we go language wise, then the language that they use, they were quite simple. Yeah. Human at the center. Okay. So, yeah, as we all know that Wordsworth, he always was in the favor of using a simple language so that everybody can read it, and because he believed that poetry is for everybody. Uh, Fine. So that's one thing. And now we have to talk about the second generation of romantics. And second generation of romantics, they are Lord Byron, Shelley, and Keats. These three, they are the second generation of romantic poets. Now I have my presentation here. I just want to ask here, are you all seeing the full screen or the?
No, ma'am. Just we need to. You can shift it to slideshow.
I already have, so again, it's the same problem. Fine. So I'm doing it again.
Okay, no problem, ma'am.
Now I guess it should be the full screen. The full screen now.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, so second generation of romantics. So firstly, let's just see what do we have in common. This second generation of romantics, all of these three, Shelley, Keats, and Byron, ironically, all the three they died before the first generation of romantics. So they died before Wordsworth, Coleridge, Blake. So that's one thing. Second thing is that all these three poets, they were out of England when they died. So that's something strange we can say, and a strange similarity between these three, that they all died very young. Like kids, he was hardly 25, 30, 25. This was the age when they died. So, and none of them were in the England when they died. So they were away from their home. So, this is a very strange similarities between these three. Now, I just have this things for you. So I'm going to put some picture here, only a couple of them, and you just have to identify who all are they. So who is this fellow? Yeah, that's Wordsworth. I just put Wordsworth because I thought that everybody would be thinking this must be somebody from the second generation, but that's Wordsworth. That's correct. This fellow, very easy, I guess. Yeah, that's Shelley. That's Shelley. So we have the first generation poet and the second generation poet. The next is this, the very famous line, beauty is truth, truth, beauty. So this line is taken from which poem? Keats. And the poem is? So sometimes, we just think that we know this line and it looks very much familiar, but then when we have to give the name, it becomes no. Yeah, that's Grecian urn by Keats. Okay, this can be new for you. In secret we met, in silence I grieve. That thy heart could forget, thy spirit deceive. That's Blake. No, that's not by Blake. Byron, yeah. Oh, that's Byron. When we two parted, that's by Byron. So yeah, these are some famous line can be there in your NET or SLET exam. They can ask the line or the name of the poet. So therefore, I have kept it like that. Okay, now talking about the difference between the first generation and the second generation. So, simple and lucid language, this is not the characteristic of the second generation poets. This is for the first generation. So, first generation poets, they wrote in a very simple and lucid language so that everybody can understand it, everybody can enjoy that. That was their main idea. And therefore, they wrote in a very simple language. Whereas the second generation, they wrote mainly in elaborated style and very complex language. Even there's this one thing that the first generation they wrote ballad, whereas the second generation they mainly wrote sonnet and such. The classic forms. So that was one thing. Then feelings are innocent and eternal. That is for the first generation because obviously they mainly like talk about nature, and if you see, we have a lot of natural elements there in their and the nature is part of their poem for first generation. But when we talk about the second generation, the feelings are fatal, deceptive, as we have in Label, Them Sun's Mercy. So if you have that poem, if you have read it, so we can see this that the feelings are fatal and deceptive. Then the first generation, they embrace conservative life in old age in Lake District. So three of them, I guess, all of them had spent their old age, their last years in Lake District, wherein for the second generation, they all died young. and they all died far from home. As we discussed earlier, that none of them were in England when they died. So all of them were away, far away from their home, and they died very young, like before the first generation. So that is the main difference that we have between the first generation and the second generation of the poets. Now, the very first one, Lord Byron. Now, what I have done in my presentation this time is that all the basic detail and the other things related to their personal life that covered in the presentation, although I'll just be saying it, I'll be giving you information about it. I am not going to avoid it. Whereas in the presentation, I have just kept the names of their works and the years and the journal or the magazine wherein their works appeared. So, that can be useful for you because it's mainly about the names and the years, as far as I know. So, yeah, Lord Byron. So, something about his life. He belonged to an aristocratic family, so very rich family. He went to Cambridge, Trinity College, Cambridge, and there's this one thing that he had a deformed foot, problem walking, but still, yeah, many. It is said that he was very good with sports, although he had a deformed foot, and his personal life, he had a lot of affairs with women, so that also will be included later here. So his first work was Hours of Idleness. It came out in 1807, and it's a small volume of lyric poem that was attacked in Edinburgh Review. So as I think I have included this in my lecture, that Edinburgh Review was quite a famous name, but when you get an attack from that, that's a big deal. So, but Byron, he was quite revolutionary in his nature. I think it was there, and therefore he, instead of getting scared, he just counter-attacked it in his next work, which came out in 1809, which is English Bards and Scotch Reviewers. So he did that. Then Child Herod's Pilgrimage came out in 1812 and 1818, and it became an immediate success after its publication, and it made him a real celebrity figure. Now, this is one question for you. How many cantos do we have in this poem, Child Heralds? Child Harold's Pilgrimage has four cantos, and the first, it is written in Spenserian stanza. The first two cantos appeared in 1812. The third came out in 1816, and the last came out in 1818. And therefore, we have this range of years, that is from 1812 to 1818. So it is divided into like it has four cantos. And then these three works, the Juar, the Corsair, and Lara, came out in 1813, 14, and like Corsair and Lara, they both came out in 14, and they were the series of verse narratives. Now, when we're talking about Byron, obviously we'll have the Byronic hero or Byronian hero, as they say it, that we'll be discussing later. Now, Manfred, which came out in 1816-17, it's a dramatic poem or a lyric poem or a closet drama, as they say it. Now, what do we mean by closet drama? Any idea? Closet drama? Closet dramas are those, yeah, that is intended to be read. So we do not perform this closet drama on the stage, but they are meant to be read. So this Manfred, it was a closet drama, and it is, and Byron, he calls it a metaphysical drama. He himself calls it as metaphysical drama, and he wrote this. There's this little story that he wrote it after his marriage to Annabel Miliband failed, and the reason for the failure of this marriage was that it was believed that he had incestuous affair with his half sister Augusta Leigh. That's her name, Augusta Leigh. And it was believed that he had inappropriate relationship with his half sister, and because of this reason his marriage failed. And after that he had written this closet drama. And also, the main character of this drama is tortured by his own sense of guilt, as in real life. So, yeah, they say that, it features the typical Byronian hero, who is a guilt ridden person, is restless, and a wanderer, and who is tormented by unspecified sorrow. These are all the characteristics of Byronian hero. That Byronian hero generally is somebody who is very much arrogant, although is intellectual, but they're wanderer. They have hardly some idea as to what is the reason for their sorrow. So they have unspecified sorrow, and they're guilt ridden, restless. So the main character of Manfred was like this. It is also said that this Manfred, it was inspired by Goethe's Faust. So that was one thing about this. Then his famous Don Juan came out in 1819, and it's a long unfinished poem. So the question might come in NET or SLET exam that which one of these remained unfinished. So Don Juan remained unfinished. It's written in 16 cantos, and it's a satirical epic which is written in ottava rima, that is 8 lines. Got, yeah, it gained quite a lot popularity. Now, there's one thing we need to know about Byron is that he was the only one of all the other romantic poets who was regarded as a model to be admired in literary circles, even outside England. So that was one very different thing, that only he was famous outside England. Like, so there was just this mention of this, and then we have Byronian hero, who is very individualistic, very much arrogant and intellectual at the same time. All quite like his own personality. So that is by that is for Byron. Then we have Shelley. Now, talking about Shelley, he also came from an aristocratic family, and it is said that because he came from an aristocratic family, he learned Latin and Greek at a very early age. And while he was in the college, he was called Mad Shelley because of his experiments in science, mainly with chemistry. And yeah, that was Shelley. Now, Shelley also has a very interesting personal life that we'll be discussing later. Okay, so Shelley uses images and symbols to render his ideas vividly to the reader. So, if you read his poetry, you have this vivid images and symbols that you can easily relate to. Now, talking about his college life, there we will have this necessity of atheism. Now, he and his classmate Thomas Jog, they came up with a pamphlet with the name The Necessity of Atheism while they were studying in Oxford University. And because of this radical pamphlet, which came out in 1811, by the way, so they were expelled from the university because of this work, because in that they challenged the existence of God. So because of that reason they were expelled. And after this expulsion from the college, while he was just 18 or 19 years old, he got married. Actually, he eloped with his wife, Harriet Westbrook. He was just 18 or 19, and his wife was some 16-year-old girl, like Harriet Westbrook is her name, and they both eloped. And after this, see, this happened in 1811. This happened in 1811, and after 2 years came out the Queen Mab. Queen Mab, that is 1813. It came out in 1813. Now, this Queen Mab is written in 9 cantos. It is written in 9 cantos. Um, you can clearly see the influence of William Godwin. Now, this William Godwin was a socialist and philosopher in England, and Shelley was highly influenced by him. And it's clearly seen in this work, Queen Mab. Now, William Godwin again is a very important person in Shelley's life, not because of this Queen Mab and his influence on Queen Mab, because he, again, Shelley eloped with William Godwin's daughter, that is Mary Wollstonecraft. So, yeah, that is their relation. So, basically, he would be the father in law, but that was not accepted then. So William Godwin had the idea of necessity, and Shelley, he combined this idea with his own idea of ever-changing nature. And so combining these two ideas, William Godwin's idea of necessity and his idea of ever-changing nature, he established a theory which believed that all this social evil would dissolve naturally in time. So you just have to give it some time and it will be resolved. It will be dissolved. So that is what he believed. Then we have Song to the Man of England, England 1819. Again, it's a political sonnet. Then came out The Mask of Anarchy, 1819. So again, it's a political poem, which is inspired by the Peterloo massacre. And just 1 minute, there's this interesting thing about. Yes, this Mask of Anarchy, it was not published until 1832. See, Shelley died in 1822, but this work, The Mask of Anarchy, was not published. It did not came out, it did not come out in print in until 1832. And Shelley, it is said that Shelley had sent the manuscript in 1819 already for the publication to the examiner. Examiner, we all know, is a huge name. So he had sent the manuscript in 1819 already. But Leigh Hunt had a problem with it and he withheld it from the publication. So yeah, it was already there in 1819, it was ready, but then it was not published until 1832. That's something about the Mask of Anarchy. And then came out his Prometheus Unbound, again a very famous work by him, which is a lyrical drama, a 4-act lyrical closet drama. So again, it's a closet drama. It talks about the old Greek myth. Now, which is considered to be Shelley's first publication? Any idea? Any idea about Shelley's first publication? Like, which was his first? work that got published. No, before that. I mean, on the off before that. Necessity of Atheism came out in 1811. This his first publication was in 1810. Okay, it's Zestrosi that came out in 1810. So this can be there in your exam, that which is the first work. Now, so his first wife, that is Harriet Westbrook, she was just 16 when they got married, and Shelley was 19. And again, some interesting fact about his life, as I said, that William Godwin has connection. So William Godwin's daughter, that is Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin, so Shelley eloped with her when she was 16, and she abandoned his pregnant wife. So at that time, Harriet was pregnant with his child, and Mary was 16 again when they eloped. And after their elopement, they traveled to France, Italy, and Switzerland. And it was then this Mary Shelley, she wrote Frankenstein. Frankenstein again is a story of failed, monstrous parenting, which they can relate to their personal life, their real life. So that is one thing. So this both, if you take Byron, had a lot of affair. Shelley also eloped both the time, like he never uh, made it official, like in front of public. He had to elope with people, and he was quite young when he got married and all these things. So that was something strange. Then in 1817, he produced Laon and Sithna, that is a long narrative poem. Again, it has references to incest and attack on religion. Because of these two things, the this production was withdrawn after only a few copies were published, and later it was edited and reissued as The Revolt of Islam. So, and see, so Laon and Sithna came out in 1817, and then because of the edition and because it was reissued, it came out after year, that is 1818, with the name The Revolt of Islam. And as far as we people are concerned, we as in people of English literature. So yeah, he mainly is famous for his Skylark, his To the West Wind, or To the West Wind, and Ozymandias. We, I think, all have studied it. So if you take his Ode to the West Wind, so wind is what? Wind is a symbol of French Revolution and the idea of revolution in general. Then again, we have Skylark coming out in 20. In 21, we have Adonais. So Adonais is an elegy, which is written in Spenserian stanza on the death of Keats. He had met Keats, I think, in 1821 only, early that year, and then after his death, he wrote this poem, this elegy for him. And then there's his last poem, The Triumph of Life, 1822, which remained unfinished. Now Keats, Keats, the youngest a romantic poet to write. Like his lifespan is very short. He and yes, Shelley, he drowned. His was not a natural death, as we, he drowned while he was away from his home. Now John Keats, uh, just he was 25 years old when he died, and so we have very limited works of him, but yet wonderful and extraordinary and very famous. So yeah, talking about his life, something about Keats' life. Then Keats' poetry is full of imagination, and mainly they're concerned with beauty, because it is said that the only consolation he found in a life which was full of sadness, it was beauty. The memory of beauty was to him was a pure source of joy. Now why was his life sad? Because his mother and his brother, both of them died of TB, and again he had many financial problems. So therefore he never had a very happy or a very normal life. It was always sadness and misunderstanding, and therefore we have this element of beauty in his work. Now his first poem was a sonnet called O Solitude. So this can be there, that which is the first work by Keats. So his first poem was a sonnet, O Solitude, which came out in 1816. And along with O Solitude, there was this other poem on first looking into Chapman's Homer. So that's a name, on first looking into Chapman's Homer. Both of these were published in the same year, and they were published in the Examiner. Again, the name of Examiner came. So it was published in the Examiner Journal by Leigh Hunt. Now, Keats, he met Shelley in 1816. Yes, I said 21, but it was incorrect. Shelley and Keats, they met in 1816, and there he started writing Endymion. I think we had discussed, the name had come up in the chat box somewhere. So yeah, after their meeting, he started writing Endymion, and it's written in four books. Endymion is written in four books, and it is said that Keats' best work came out in from 1816 to 1819. And then we have his work Lamia, Isabella, or The Port of Basils, and The Eve of Saint Ignace. His Eve of Saint Agnes, it was written in 1819, and as I have mentioned here, it's a romantic love story which is written in Spenserian stanzas, and its pure and rich diction makes it masterpiece. Now, there's one influence and one reason people have attached with this, that the Eve of Saint Agnes, it was written as Keats, he was deeply in love, and he remained in love with this lady called Fanny Brawne. And the Eve of Saint Agnes was the result of it. Because, in this narrative poem, there's this story that a young man follows an elaborate plan to woo his love. So that can be one of the reasons for the Eve of Saint Agnes. Yeah. So this line, the thing of beauty is joy forever, is a line from the poem Endymion, which he wrote in 1818. So yeah, this question can also be there, that this poem Endymion, it's written in four books, and it was written in 17. He was done writing it in 1817, and it came out in 1818. And then if we he also has written in honor of Leigh Hunt. Keats also has written the sonnet called "Written on the Day That Mr. Leigh Hunt Left Prison." So that's the name, and yeah, he has written this sonnet called "Written on the Day That Mr. Leigh Hunt Left Prison." That's a sonnet by Keats. And it is said that Keats' daring and bold style, became the reason for criticism. Like he was highly criticized in Blackwood's magazine and the Quarterly Review. Now, this Edinburgh Review, Quarterly Review, the Examiner, these are the names that frequently would come when we are dealing with literature. This journal and magazines were very much important during that time. So he was criticized a lot in these two magazines, that is Blackwood's magazine and Quarterly Review. And there he was also called a member of Cockney School of Poetry. A member of Cockney School of Poetry. So Cockney was a very derogatory term for somebody who is weak, and something which is, as they say, they used to say it as impure. So that was one thing. Then we also have Keats. When we deal with Keats, we have a term called negative capability. So any idea what is this negative capability? Negative capability. No, I'm just asking. Huh. That do we have, like, do you all have any idea about what is this negative capability? There's this term given by Keats, that is negative capability. So have you come across this word, this term? Okay, ability to accept uncertainty. Yeah, uh, he believed that Shakespeare had this quality. Shakespeare and Coleridge had this quality, and he believed that it's a capability of being in uncertainties, mysteries, and doubts. So that is what he called negative capability, and so work of logic or science, I guess. I also have to go through these again, but this is what I have understood, that when you're full of uncertainties, mysteries, and doubts, but still you reach the height, and you get what you want. This is what I believe. I guess we need to discuss this. uh, but yeah, so this is the term related to, if you ever come across this term negative capability, so it's related to Keats. He had coined and he had given this term. Then we have Ode on Gratianon, a very famous, we all know, and the lines are often quoted. uh, Ekphrastic poetry. So ekphrastic poetry, ekphrastic poems are those poems which has vivid description of a scene, or a work of art or a thing. So we all know it's about an urn. So yeah, a very beautiful description of it, and that makes it the ekphrastic poetry. And then we have Ode to Autumn, which has admirable natural imagery. And Keats, yeah, he also died of TB, just like his brother and his mother. And yeah, that's, I guess, that's all I have for today.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for the presentations. And now, participants, you are open for your question answers. You can ask the questions and suggestions and observations that you need to. You can unmute yourself and you can drop your questions into the chat box.
Yeah, I guess instead of questions, welcome, because even I believe that the discussion would be better. I needed the clarification for one or two terms here.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to ask that the second generation romantic poets, were they inspired by the first generation or not? And what can be the vision in their writing style, even though the uh, age or the period between both the generation is not so much long?
Uh, so, as far as I know, and as far as I have read, I believe that the first generations, they were highly influenced by the French Revolution, wherein these people, the second generation, they had nothing to do with the French Revolution. Like, they hardly did something about it, so they were mainly concerned about the societal issues. And yeah, that is what I believe, and therefore that is the major difference that we have here. That is a new generation, that is a second generation. They did not deal with French Revolution, or they were not influenced by it at all. And there's one more thing, that all these three writers, if you see Byron, you take Byron, Keats, or Shelley, their nature and the way they wrote, they mainly, were revolutionary, I would say. If you see their personal lives also, like a lot of affairs and elopement. So I don't know if I've answered your question. I don't know about the language, that, how they decided, or why they were not following the simple language. So even I tried to find something online, that why they were called the second generation, and how are, okay, we know the differences, but then why were they not influenced by them, or what was the reason for it? But yeah, I think this is what I've got. I think I still have to read about it, and I will be searching it for your
Correct.
questions. If anybody here know and would like to contribute here, it would be fine. So if anybody has anything to contribute here, because I know it, I had included very limited information here. I mainly tried to focus on the details and the questions that can be there in NET or SLET exam. So that was entirely, NET or SLET oriented. But yeah, so if you have any questions, not questions exactly, but if you want to include anything here, add anything here, that would be welcome. Any
Yes.
information.
Yes, participants. Your observations can be the part of this discussions also.
No,
I think they were still in the thinking process, might be.
might be, ma'am. So I think I have given them something to think at least, that they might be seeing, they might be searching the negative capability, and they might be searching this
Ye-
language thing. So
yes,
I,
yes, probably that would be the thing.
yeah. So I think that's it then, ma'am.
Participants, any questions and queries or any suggestions? Okay, seems it's nothing, ma'am. It's not happening. Any questions or suggestions coming up? It would be, I would say, a call it for a day. Thank you,
All
ma'am,
right.
once again for your presentations.
Thank
Hopefully,
you for calling me.
uh, you are most welcome. You are welcome. That it would be the probably they could go for this revise themselves, and it would be able to help them for jotting down or they rethinking their processes and the terms that they had been discussed in this lecture. It would be probably for this. Thank you once again from the Department of English and CLS that we are thanking you once again, ma'am, and
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank
welcome.
you everybody for listening to me.
Uh,
And yeah,
yes.
I know it wasn't a very well prepared, but then yeah, I tried to include some stuff which would be necessary, and which might help you for your NET or SLET exam.
Yes, ma'am. That's probably would be helpful to us also. And thank you once again, participants. And just a little reminder that tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we are meeting once again for the same NET and set series on the topic criticism during the romantic age that we are going to deal with tomorrow at the 10 p.m. So we now call it for a day and see you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you.